Summit in the shadow of war. The African Union at a crossroads. New Year in, and African dictators gather in Finfinne. Motorcades sweep through secured streets. Delegations speak of integration, prosperity, and African solutions to African problems. The 39th African Union Summit convenes in Ethiopia, host of the AU, headquarters and long branded as Africa's diplomatic capital. But beyond the conference hall, the ground tells another story. The AU host city Finfinne, aka Addis Ababa, sits in Oromia, the most populous and largest state in Ethiopia and the political center of the federation. Since 2019, Oromia has endured a low-visibility yet devastating conflict marked by military operations, drone warfare, mass arrests, communication blackouts, and displacement. The human cost rarely dominates continental headlines. The Amhara region, Ethiopia's second-largest state, has been engulfed in armed confrontation since 2023. Tigray, after suffering one of the deadliest conflicts in recent African history between 2020 and 2022, with estimates from academic and humanitarian sources suggesting hundreds of thousands of deaths, now faces rising tensions that threaten renewed war. The AU headquarters stands inside a federation struggling to hold itself together. Beyond Ethiopia, instability radiates outward. Sudan is experiencing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Since fighting erupted in 2023 between rival military factions, millions have been displaced. According to the United Nations, South Sudan remains fragile, trapped between political fragility and economic collapse. In Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the crisis has deepened. Armed groups, including the re-emergent M23 rebellion, continue to destabilize North Kivu and surrounding areas. Regional interventions have struggled to contain violence fueled by mineral wealth, cross-border rivalries, and weak governance. The Congo crisis is not new. It is a chronic wound of post-colonial state fragility, compounded by global demand for cobalt, coltan, and gold. Somalia battles al-Shabaab while tensions between Somalia and Somaliland create additional geopolitical fault lines. Across the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger coup have replaced constitutional governments, challenging the AU's declared commitment to democratic order. The Horn of Africa is increasingly a chessboard of external power projection, intensifying competition in the Red Sea corridor. Among Gulf states and other Middle Eastern actors are expanding port deals, military access agreements, and security partnerships. And yet, the African Union largely responds with communiqués, suspensions, and carefully balanced diplomacy. Political solidarity often outweighs civilian protection. The contradiction is stark. Africa's highest political body meets in a region encircled by war. In Finfinne, Addis Ababa, leaders gather beneath the flag of continental unity while, beyond the conference halls, entire regions live under the shadow of armed conflict. Oromia has endured a grinding war since 2019. Amhara has been devastated since 2023. Tigray, still fragile after catastrophic fighting, stands on the edge of renewed instability. Sudan burns in a brutal power struggle. South Sudan remains fragile. The Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo continues to hemorrhage civilians under the weight of armed groups and regional rivalries. Across the Sahel, coups and insurgencies have redrawn the political map. And yet the African Union was not created merely to convene. It was born from the ashes of the OAU's strict doctrine of non-interference, a doctrine that, too, often meant silence in the face of suffering. The AU replaced it with a more ambitious principle: non-indifference. That shift was historic. It recognized that sovereignty cannot be a shield for mass violence, unconstitutional seizures of power, or systematic repression. But principles without enforcement are poetry. Non-indifference requires more than communiqués. It requires decisive mediation backed by consequences. It requires financial independence from external donors who inevitably shape priorities. It requires institutional courage to confront member states, not only rebel movements. It demands early warning systems that lead to early action, not late regret. Summits produce declarations. Declarations affirm values. But peace requires enforcement. It requires political cost. It requires the willingness to say that stability built on silence is not stability at all. History is rarely impressed by choreography. It measures institutions by whether they acted when action was dangerous. This gathering will be remembered for one of two things: whether it confronted the continent's burning realities with clarity and resolve, or whether it performed unity while the fires continued to spread beyond the conference gates.